I just found out from the announcer that Davis dislocated his shoulder, so he was unable to continue. Took a bad shot, but his shoulder was thrown out. That does happen, and he couldn't move his arm. They had to stop the fight.
Oh, so he dislocated his shoulder.
I found that out from the ring announcer that it was he got hit a bad shot, but he dislocated his shoulder, and they had to stop the fight. Couldn't put his shoulder back in place.
Huh. So when a fighter like that, I've heard of dislocated elbows. Fighters can dislocate elbows as well.
Definitely, shoulders, elbows do go out, and especially shoulders. Especially with fighters, throwing punches and miss. The worst thing to do is a miss, and throwing you might have done that in life. If you try to throwing a baseball is one thing, but try to throw the same speed without a baseball in your hand, and you almost throw your arm out. You got to have something behind it. Or throwing a punch, and it's not no object in front of it, and it goes out the full length. You're able to pull your elbow out, snap it, or throw your shoulder out.
What happens now for Peter McNeeley? A lot more fighters duck him, or what?
Well, the better the record, the better he looks. Of course, it ain't the fighters ducking him. It's the trainers and the managers don't want putting their opponents with a guy that's got a great record and and there's a danger at all times. Everybody wants to get their fighters. How you manage them? Keep them away from the hard bangers, the tough fighters, and sneak them through and get them a lot of wins and get them a title shot. So McNeeley, the tougher he gets, the harder it's going to be to get opponents. Then again, the tougher he gets and the more wins he's got, may be able to see a championship fight. Watching Peter McNeeley fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world, and that would be something.
You heard it.
To see.
Absolutely, folks. 24-0, as Paulie said, his quest towards being the heavyweight champion. So we're going to be back with our final bout right after this. You're watching ABT Pro Boxing. Mercy. One of the most wicked punches we have seen here in quite some time. So that comes to the conclusion. That comes to the conclusion of our fights on the docket tonight. I want to thank Mr. Bill Conley. Bill, thanks for stopping by tonight.
It was my pleasure. My pleasure. I'd like to do it again sometime.
Great. From the NEABF, Paul Stivaleta. And I guess we can interview Mrs. McNeeley regarding her son's quick fight tonight.
You still on?
Nancy, I've known you for quite some years, and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions for the cable here. Knowing that you've been around the fight game for quite some time, how does it feel seeing your son Peter up there? I'd like to know what it feels with a mother sitting here. I never had my mother in one of my fights because she just wouldn't go. And
yes, well,
now that seeing you here, I'd like to know how you feel, and probably the public does too.
Your mother was probably very wise to stay home. I'm thinking that as I go along following Peter's career, that as much as I feel compelled to be here to support him, that with each fight, I'm probably thinking that the next one I might decide to stay home. I do know a lot about the game, Paul, as you know, and we've been friends for years coming to these fights, and of course watching Peter's dad, and he did a wonderful job in his career, and of course one of the four boys was going to do this, and it's Pete, and we just support him and wish him the best, but it's not fun.
No, I guess not, but I'd like to say, Nancy, when it comes to mothers, I guess you are a champion yourself. You're a champion of mothers. When it comes to taking care of your kids and supporting your children, I know that. I've known you for quite some time, and it's such a pleasure to see you here, and I know what you're going through.
Thank you very much.
I want to honor you for that, and hope that a lot of mothers understanding their sons, whether they become football players or hockey players or fighters, have that same backing for their children, because trying to stop them, could do more harm than let them go forward and give them that support. And you're one that has, and we admire you, and you will always be a champion as far as mothers are concerned to us.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Great job, Paul. Thank you very much, Mrs. McNeeley. So the finals here in the pro fights, we saw some great bouts tonight, Paul. We saw some emerging champions. We saw some continuing champions. We saw one guy fight, Jerry Gagliardi, in his first pro fight, and he looked very good. We saw another guy, Hurricane, just stormed through his next opponent, 24-0, didn't even break a sweat. We saw one of the most wicked punches. In fact, they're still attending to Blyther in the ring, thrown by Rivera. We saw a fighter that came within a hair of winning the World's Championship over Oscar De La Hoya, Anthony Christodoulou. So we saw a lot of great bouts on our docket tonight.
We certainly did. And you said it all just right there in the last few minutes. There we are. As we said previous to that statement, that the fight is still up in the ring, as I said. He'll have to sit there for some time and until they sure that his head is clear and there are no effects from that punches. And how do they know that? Well, just keep talking to him, keep him sitting there until he starts asking them questions. I haven't seen him ask the trainers or the doctors any questions yet. It means he's still in the daze. He doesn't really know what happened. He was gazing around for a minute. He's noticing the crowd's leaving. And when he starts finding himself, and they'll know when to let him go. And we saw everything tonight, as you said, all types of fights, great fights. We saw knockouts, we saw decisions. Each one of them, the knockouts and the decisions, were good fights, good for boxing, good for the spectators, and good for the sport. And good for us being announcers, I guess. Me as a beginner, and I'm very glad being here and happy and seeing old friends again, and especially Peter's mother, and seeing Peter. I wish Peter had a little more tougher an opponent, but I guess when you dislocate a shoulder, that you have to stop it. But his fights are going to get tougher. He's going to have to show more, which he has done previous. He's had some tough 10-rounders, and it looks like he's going to the top, and I hope so. I'm behind it because it's family with me, so I'm going to continuously hope to be with him and be able to have us there with it and take over from there.
Yeah, no, what was funny is Peter not only had his fight face on, but his dad did too. Tommy, it looked like he was about to go up against Patterson again.
That's right. Being in the corner, which I was with my sons, fighting in the gloves, you get so carried away, especially when it's your kid, that you're almost up in that ring and you have to be contained and pulled down. I was many times been sheltered at by the judges. If I keep yelling and climbing up on the ropes, they were going to disqualify me from being present at my son's corner. But it's very tough when you got a son fighting and being there, and you get so anxious you almost end up into the ring. And of course you can see McNeeley, Peter's father was Tom was about to do the same, you know. But that's part of it, and that's why Tom has Vinny, who's a good trainer, Vinny Vicchioni, a great trainer, and tries to stay in the background of it and just be in the corner. But he gets too excited, too carried away, and he just can't be helped, you know.
Yeah. I guess boxing, a lot of it is tradition. Witness you and your son Glenn, the McNeeleys. We've seen a bunch of fight, the Attardos, for instance, the Roaches from Dedham. One thing I wanted to ask you, we're from Dedham. We haven't spoken much about the Roach family, what a glorious fighting family, whether it be, I know we're short on time, but whether it be Pepper, Freddie, and Joey, I maintain when I saw the Holmes fight, when those three fought, it was the most pleasurable evening of boxing I've ever witnessed in my life. Talk a little bit about the Roach family.
Well, the Roach family, as you know, you just said it all. The family, the father and Mrs. Roach was supporting of boxing all through their life. The father was a fighter, and Mrs. Roach was a commissioner of boxing, now a judge in boxing. She's followed her son. She's backed her son, just like Peter McNeely's mother, Nancy, backs her son, even though it's scary for them, but they're there supporting him because they're going to be there. The Roach family and Freddie has fought for the title, and all the Roaches were great little fighters, Pepper, all of them, and came from a fighting family, and that's in their blood, and it does wear off. And if you're a fighter, you know that your kids are going to have, one of your kids, if they have more than one, is going to want to be, and one want to be a piano player. I have altogether 8 sons out there and 1 daughter, and they all did some boxing, tried it out, fought in the Golden Gloves, and reached their goals, and knew when to quit, and made their own decisions about it. I never pushed them. So it's good to see that, and you see that in the game, usually trainers and fighters do come from a background of fighters.
Okay. Does anybody have any bounty or brawny here? We just did a spillage, some of our opponents here. But you're right, as far as Pete turns director again. As far as these fights tonight, I just want to thank you, Paulie, for helping us out on ABT. It was a pleasure having you along. Your expert commentary, I know, somehow made Peter and I valid in our broadcasting. But I just got word we're going to be hanging out and doing the Golden Gloves next month, so that's going to be something to look forward to.
Well, that's great, and I hope I'm with you in doing that too. And I think that's a great opportunity that we're able to get in the door for that, because that's going to be a sold out. They're sold out every year, the Golden Gloves in Lowell. You see some great amateur bouts, and I'm going to be proud to be with you and be there that night, and I can't wait till it all happens.
Absolutely. So, for my executive producer, Johnny Gagliardi, for Jim Tuberosa, for Paul Stivaleta, for Peter McGowan, I'm John Horgan saying so long from the Grand Ballroom and the Lowell Sheridan Inn as we saw 9 great pro bouts of boxing. You're watching Celebrity Boxing on ABT. Take care, everybody.